Well, hello and welcome to Outdoor Oklahoma. I'm Todd Craighead. Trail cameras have really become an integral part of modern day deer hunting. I know I actually have personally passed on a few bucks before because I had pictures of even a bigger buck in the area. Well, today we're going to visit with our wildlife biologist, and they'll explain to us how you can take the use of trail cameras on your property to really the next level of herd management. But first, it only makes common sense that in order for a sport like hunting to keep from dying off, well then the current generation of hunters will have to at least replace themselves. Likewise, well, if you want that sport to grow, then each member of that current generation will have to produce 2 new participants. Really, that's the foundation of mentoring. And the good news is, it's really not that hard. Today, we're going to introduce you to a veteran mentor, so to speak, as he takes along a brand new hunter and his mom on their very first deer hunt.
I talk about hunting a lot around the office, and people know that I'm kind of doing it on my own. My husband, he plays a lot of sports, but he doesn't hunt. When I mentioned that my son wanted to go deer hunting, Wade, who is someone I work with, offered to take him on a hunt on his property up in northwest Oklahoma, and we were very excited. I couldn't wait to tell my son, and when I did, he said yes, he wants to go.
Over the years, I've literally taken hundreds of people out on their first, whatever it might be, fish, jug line, deer hunt, turkey hunt. And the longer I hunt, it seems like the more I get rewarded by doing that than actually hunting myself. From my kids and relatives to neighbor kids to coworkers' kids, I've been doing it for years. And what I like to do is introduce kids to basic things like bluegill or catfish fishing, or doe hunt, something that's simple, rifle or a crossbow, and really explain and educate on the principles of the hunt.
My son Poppy plays a lot of sports, so I'm always with him and at his events, and I'm always in the stands cheering for him. But on his first hunt, what was so special about it was I got to be in the deer stand with him for 2 whole days. And it gives us a chance to connect on a different type of level. We were able to talk about, silly things, talk about life things, stuff that we're so busy we don't always get the chance to talk about just in our everyday life. This gave us the chance to just take the time, and while we're sitting there waiting for deer, just to talk to each other and kind of even get to know each other a little bit better.
There's 71 doves over there. Kidding. See, there she is. I'm kidding.
We spent quite a bit of time in our tower blind, and when the times weren't real active with deer, we had plenty of fun in the blind, joking and horsing around.
The secret to my success on youth hunts is gummy bears. Handfuls. Right? When the kids are bored, fidgeting, they're making noise in the blind. Gummy bears.
On the first evening, we moved to a wheat field to set up a pop-up blind. Got on the edge of the field, got the wind in the right direction. I kind of knew where the deer were going to come out.
And shortly after sitting down and getting situated, we saw some does come out onto the field. Also one buck. They were too far to shoot, but it was exciting just seeing them and knowing, anticipating, are they going to come up to us? Are they not going to come up here?
They really came out right where we thought they would, but they didn't get close enough. They were about 250-yard shots, really a stretch for a young guy that's been in it for just a little while. I mean, it was really enticing. I mean, he really wanted to fire a shot, but I knew it was a stretch, so we needed to just hold off. They never did come in. They fed over there on the west edge of the field and then went back in the brush. So we were making plans for the next morning.
That next morning, we went back out to another deer stand, and we didn't see anything that morning either. So by this time, I think he was just getting a little, well, I think he was wondering, am I gonna get a deer? Am I gonna see one? He was getting a little worried. So we kept him occupied.
Okay.
Only in outdoor Oklahoma.
Oh my gosh, that was awesome.
And we sat there, we put in the hours. We sat there 3 or 4 hours, and it just didn't seem like the deer were moving.
Watching Outdoor Oklahoma.
You're watching outdoor Oklahoma.
No laughing.
I can't. No laughing.
Easy on the head.
You're gonna smack Wade. You're
You
not
throw
a
your
puppet.
shoulders out of socket.
You're not a puppet. You snap your head right off.
You're
He's like this. You're watching Outdoor Oklahoma.
trying to be like Todd.
So once again, we've got 3 or 4 more hours invested, and we're thinking of the next plan. So we're looking for the 4th set and thinking about that evening.
And again, we weren't seeing anything until about the last hour of the last day of the hunt.
We finally, right really when you think it's about over, not gonna happen, spot one. And I think Poppy spotted it. There's one. And it was within 75 yards. And we start scrambling around and game on.
And I knew at that moment, okay, he has a chance. This is his shot. He's gonna get this doe. And my heart just, it's even better than when I got my first deer. I mean, I just can't even explain it. My heart just was so excited for him, and I thought, he did it. After all this, at the last hour, he did it.
And the man, he was like beaming. His Christmas was already made.
After the shot, Wade and Poppy left me in the deer blind so that they could go and look for the deer and hunt it down, track it down. And when they came out of the woods, they just had this look on their face, just of dismay. And my heart sank. I thought, oh, they didn't find it. And they said they didn't find the deer. And I just about cried. Then they said, we're just kidding. Come on, it's back here. I couldn't believe it. I wanted to whoop them. I had such a rush of different feelings and emotions. I was excited. I was proud. I just was so proud of him. I just was so grateful for Wade to give me the chance to see my son harvest his first doe or deer at all. And I was overwhelmed with feelings, and as a mom, being able to see her son take his first deer, I think that a lot of dads probably get that opportunity, but I'm gonna guess that a whole lot of moms haven't been there to do that. And if you're a mom, you're never gonna get another feeling like that. So I just was super grateful to be a mom and to see my son get his deer. And I couldn't have asked for a better mentor to take my son than Wade.
Mentoring, to me, is more important than hunting itself or fishing itself. If we're not replacing ourselves, or replacing ourselves plus a couple, then we're not doing our part. So as hunters and fishermen, we all need to be thinking about, are we furthering the cause? Are we getting youngsters out there? Are we introducing them to the sport? Are we showing them what we're interested in. Are we becoming excited seeing a kid get his first deer or catch his first fish like we get when we take our own deer? And I do. That's fun for me.
Having Wade as a mentor was probably the best thing about the hunt. He knew how to get on my son's level. I could tell the way he joked with him and talked to him that he had been around a lot of kids and taken a lot of kids on their first hunt. He knew just what to do to keep it interesting so that Poppy didn't get bored. They joked around a lot.
Okay.
That's the second story I've ever heard.
We laughed for days after that.
My son just loved him. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better mentor. Wade just really got on his level.
The enjoyment that the mentor gets out of the success from a first-timer is just, you can't measure it. It far exceeds your first deer, turkey, quail, whatever it might be. And you don't understand that until you've done it. And it's addictive. And the more folks you help, the more you want to help. And that's kind of a movement throughout the country, is to get people engaged, get them out of the house, get them off the couch, get them off the video games, and show them what, in most cases, is right in their backyard.
Deer hunting certainly has changed a lot in, say, the last 20 years or so. Things like scent control and calling and manufactured pop-up blinds were not even heard of a mere generation ago. But probably one of the most profound new hunting tools on the market to come around, say, the last 20 years has got to be the trail camera. Now, it seems like every hunter I know has at least one of these out on their area. And if you're like me, well, you can't wait to pull that card and skim through the pictures hoping to see a really big buck in your area. But our wildlife biologists are going to explain to us that that's really just the tip of the iceberg of how you could be utilizing trail cameras in your hunting areas.
Trail cameras have become very popular over the last decade or so, usually for hunters to locate a big buck on their property. But there's a lot of other uses that a hunter can use their trail cameras for. We're here with Eric Bartholomew, our big game biologist. He's going to talk to us a little bit about some other uses that trail cameras can be done for. So, Eric, what are some things we can do with trail cameras other than locating that big whopper buck on our property?
Well, a bit like you, Doug. I know I've got probably thousands of deer pictures on my camera that I've never really done anything with. I thumb through them and I look for that deer that I'm after that year, and then it gets put away until next year when I go pull my cards out of my cameras. You can actually use those cameras to do a survey of the deer on your property. If you've got 1,000 acres or so, or even on smaller properties, for those properties that are 1,000 acres, they recommend that you put out about one camera for every 160 acres. For properties smaller than that, you can go down to one per 100 or even one per 40 acres. What you need to do is you need to get a map of your property and kind of grid it out. And then within that grid, find good deer habitat or where deer are coming through, or a place, you may even have a feeder in that little block. Put your camera up there. It's important to pre-bait for about 7 to 10 days. Get the deer used to coming to that area. And then what you can do is run your survey for about 10 to 14 days. Research has shown that if you run that survey for at least 14 days, you're going to get about 90% of the deer that are in that area coming to that feeder.
So once you do get your deer coming in and you've gotten your trail camera pictures, what do you plan on doing with those pictures then?
So like I said before, we've probably got thousands of deer pictures that we've never done anything with. What you can do is actually use the bucks that are on your property to help get an index of the number of deer on there. So for example, say you got 100 pictures of bucks on there. You go through and you start sorting them and you find out that you've got 10 bucks on there. Well, that gives you a ratio of 1 to 10 on the bucks on that property. And you can do the same thing with does and doe fawn groups. 1 year worth of data is good information, but doing that for multiple years will really give you an idea of what that deer herd's doing on your place and what the management that you're doing how that's affecting your deer herd.
So Eric, what about time of year? When would we need to do this survey?
Late summer is good because the fawns are up moving with those does. The bucks obviously will have antlers at the end of summer. Do it before the acorns fall, because really once those acorns drop, the deer aren't really going to come to that bait quite as readily. The other time of year is right after deer season ends. The bucks will still have their antlers. There's lots of dry vegetation out there, so that'll really attract them to that bait.
So Eric, you're talking a little bit about management as a hunter or a landowner. What are some things they need to look at?
Sure. So for deer management, we're talking about habitat management and herd management. So for habitat management, there's books written on habitat management. Doing prescribed burns and hard and soft mass management and various things that you can do on the property to grow more deer and to give deer good nutrition so that you have a healthy deer herd. On the herd management side of things, for example, if you're seeing 5 does to every buck, bucks and does are born roughly 50-50 out there. And if you're shooting too many bucks, then there's too many does on the property. There's different things that can happen. For example, the rut gets extended. All those bucks can't get around to all those does, or those few bucks can't get around to all those does. So that makes your bucks get wore out. They get on a lower nutritional plane. They're not as healthy. Whereas if that buck to doe ratio is more closer to say 1 to 2, or it's really hard to get to that 1-to-1 ratio, but that 1 to 2 buck to doe ratio, the rut's shorter, it's more intense. Those bucks don't have to look for does for so long. They're healthier in the long run. And on the other end of that, when those does are dropping fawns in the spring, the fawning period's a lot shorter, so you got all the fawns hitting the ground at roughly the same time, and it's not all strung out through spring and summer, early summer, and it makes it harder for predators to come around and find those fawns. If they're all hitting the ground at once, there's just about a week or 2 long period there that those fawns are real vulnerable, and it makes it harder for those predators to really pick on those fawns.
You were talking about taking a map and putting a grid across your property to try and determine which areas you want to put a trail camera to do these surveys. But how do you do that?
That's a great question, Doug. We like to go out in the woods. Hunters in general are outdoorsy folks, so go for a walk in the woods. It's that simple. Get your map, figure out where you are on your grid, take a GPS, whatever tools you have available. Go for a stroll, look for droppings, look for tracks, look for some old scrapes and rubs, Find areas where there's lots of deer sign and deer activity. Once you do that, it's good to pre-bait for about 7 to 10 days. That gets the deer used to coming in there, and also during that time period, you can have your camera running, and that will let you know if you've got a glitch or something with your camera too. You come in there, and then once you start your real survey for that 10 to 14 day period, then you can really, concentrate on that time frame to figure out what's going on.
You were talking about baits. What kind of baits do you usually use for your surveys?
You want something that's going to last out there for a while. Corn, of course, is real good. It's readily available. The problem somewhat with corn is everything eats corn. Crows eat corn, raccoons eat corn. Everything comes to corn. Milo is a good one, or sorghum. There's not so much of that the non-target species. Crows aren't going to hit it quite so hard. The coons are going to come in there, but it's not the candy that corn is.
Well, how far do you want to put your bait away from your trail camera?
It depends. I would look at your manufacturer's directions that come with your trail camera, but usually 12 to 20 feet, somewhere in there, so that you're within the range of the sensor on your camera.
How high do you want to put your trail camera up on the tree?
Again, it depends on the camera. That's one thing you can check during that 7 to 10 day period, is that, if it's, say 3 or 4 feet off the ground, and see what kind of pictures you get. In some areas, just because of the vegetation that's surrounding, you might have to get it higher. I've seen folks, even up at 6 foot tall and shooting kind of down at your bait pile. Whatever works, that's part of the fun of it, is figuring out what works. So,
I never thought of a trail camera being used as a management tool, but thanks for all the tips, Eric. And if you need more information, get on our website or contact a private lands biologist. This has been your Management Minute.
I can't wait to see what's on these cards. Hey, thanks for joining us today. Whether it's learning how to use your trail cameras more effectively, or it's inspiring you to be a mentor to someone, I hope that there's something in today's show that you could take with you. For all of us at your wildlife department, I'm Todd Craighead, and we'll see you right here next time on Outdoor Oklahoma.